it's live, except for it is. See, it would be nice if we had a light that went on that said, okay, now it's good.
It'd be nice if we had a different producer.
I think Letty wants a new producer. This is the Dallas Stars post-game show on DLLS. Sean is here. Craig is here. I'm here. John is here, whether we like it or not. Let's get at it. Stars win over the Oilers. Is it full vengeance? No, but it's a nice win nonetheless. Let's get to it. Stars exact a small modicum of vengeance. They would gladly trade that win for a trip to the Stanley Cup final, but a 4-1 victory today over Edmonton is exactly how the Stars get themselves to 5 wins in their first 6 games, and they keep pace with the Winnipeg Jets at the top of the Central Division. Long way to go, of course, because they've only played 6 games out of 82, but still a nice way to start, because you could be the Nashville Predators. And a fun fact I saw from our old Stars friend, Jason Demers, who tweeted out today after Nashville lost at home to Sean's Detroit Red Wings. No team since the 04-05 lockout has started the year losing their first 5 and made the playoffs. Will Nashville be the first? We'll find out. This is not the Preds postgame show, but I thought that was a fun one that we could dance on the Preds a little bit. All right. Sean Shapiro, Craig Ludwig, I'm Owen Newkirk, John Anderson, our producer. Stars get the victory. How you feeling after this one? Because to me, I felt like I went on a roller coaster down badly in the first 25 to 30 minutes of the game, and then we came back up in a much better way in the back half of the game.
Yeah, I would say relieved. I mean, you kind of described it. You were concerned at the first period of the game, the start of the game. I thought Dallas didn't create a lot of momentum for themselves in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the hockey game. Again, they're a team that likes to enter the zone with the puck. I thought Edmonton did a pretty good job standing up at the offensive blue line. There were pucks that I felt that could have been in to create momentum by getting on the forecheck, getting a couple bumps, but Edmonton were turning them over, whether it was because of a Dallas, errant pass or puck that didn't get deep. And then they went down and took some momentum. And then after that, the game started to change, but a little bit, but it was slow, halfway through the second period, right into the end of that power play. For me, if it wasn't for the new contract and Jake Oettinger, that game could have been completely different early on in that hockey game.
Yeah, but until kind of until the second half of the third period there, I was actually planning to text you guys. Could we split it into 2 post-game shows? Could we do a Jake Oettinger show so we could talk just about Jake Oettinger and have a positive conversation, and then a conversation about everything else? Like, I was up until the last 10 minutes of the game, I was kind of thinking that. Obviously, Jake Oettinger, I said before the game, I want to see him outplay Stuart Skinner. And you know what? He notably outplayed Stuart Skinner with his play, and Stuart Skinner, and we'll talk more about it soon here, but Stuart Skinner. There we go. Skinner did not help his cause either. So, this was a game to me where the Stars, you started slow, you eventually responded, but you have a $66 million goalie now. That's why you picked him as your $66 million goalie, to allow yourself to eventually recover the way they did tonight.
So, Sean, because of the Edmonton Oilers start, I mean, I think it was like shots were maybe like 21 to 10 by the end of the second period. Does he relax? Does he go to sleep? Would he like more action? Or am I just trying to make up excuses for the guy? Not that I need to, but.
I mean, I would call it making up excuses for the guy. Like, it's the whole, like, is it tough? Yes. Is it tough to face 2 shots in the first period and not get a ton of action? Yes. But after the second period, you reset and you get going and everything like that. you're an NHL goalie. He faced 9 shots in the second period. If he wanted the quote unquote in-game warm-up to get dialed in and everything, the excuse for that would have been 2 minutes into the second period, not with 26 seconds left or whatever it was. So it's trying to find excuses for a guy who really, when his team needed a save on what should have been a pretty easy save, they didn't get it.
So the first period, as Sean and Luds both said, was not something particularly interesting. Our buddy Tim with the Skinner chance from 315.
Being polite.
But the first period, 2 shots on goal. We had the Stars had 3 quality chances. None of them were high danger. Edmonton had 12 shots, 7 chances, and 2 high dangers. The guy that we talked about, Jake Oettinger, new contract, first start since signing the big extension. He was superb. The 2 high danger was Zach Hyman had a turnaround shot in the low slot in his office, which is 10 feet around the net and in. Usually it's closer than 10 feet. And then McDavid had a wrist shot in the slot that Oettinger made a great save as McDavid came across from the right side. Again, he scores from that range, especially moving like that. And Otter looked completely unfazed in the early going, and it would continue into the second period. But you get to the end of the first, they had a power play. That was the one thing that stood out to me besides Oettinger was I thought the Stars' penalty kill looked comfortable. The 2 chances on the power play, McDavid was trying to bank one off of Zach Hyman. And we've seen that play before, guys, where Hyman stands basically on the edge of the crease at the left post, literally as if he's an extension of the goal. And Connor McDavid is really shooting to try to hit Hyman and have it go in. And it's worked in the past. It didn't work that time.
I would assume Sean probably has some stat or some sheet that shows how many goals that Hyman has scored. So, oh, don't give me that look. You probably do. How many goals Hyman has scored, not just with Edmonton, but in his career, but especially with Edmonton, and a guy like Connor McDavid or even Draisaitl that can hit that, a pair of skates sitting together, I mean, literally right on the post on the far side. And there is no legal play there. I mean, you just stand there. There's no kicking motion or anything like that. So why not? You know what I mean? And Hyman usually he's not a guy that plays on the perimeter on the outside there. He'll be in front of the net, but he knows when to slide off and then get over in that area.
What makes him, in your mind, so good at the net front? Because everybody that isn't a fan of the Oilers or the Maple Leafs before that get frustrated with a guy that scores 50 goals. But the old cliche is they don't ask how, they just ask how many. Why is he so successful about scoring in tight?
Well, main thing that comes to my mind is the willingness to go there. I mean, you have to, especially depending on the defense pair that you're going to play. Again, teams like Vegas, they got a big, heavy group, but you have to have the willingness to get in there and plant yourself there and know if you're playing against certain players. And everybody in the league knows that's where he is. And you know what the conversation is or should be? Let's make it uncomfortable. If he wants to go there, make him pay the price. And there are little ways that you can generally get away with something, whether that doesn't happen or not, but he has to have a high pain threshold, and he has to have the willingness to stand there. And if you're going to score 50 goals a year, it kind of gets you a new contract. So you're willing to stand there.
Sean, I want to ask you a follow-up on that, but don't forget, those of you joining in, we're going to try to do this more and more, the chat, especially after we do the recap toward the back half of the post-game show. We'll take your questions and comments. So I'll remind you later in our show, but get in the chat. If you want to ask us something, obviously the super chat gets you at the front of the line. It's like getting the fast pass at Disney World. But if you want to we will go to our chat. It'll be like our call-in segment, but we use the chat because we're here on YouTube. And of course, people listening later on the stream, you'll just have to listen and enjoy. But Sean, if you're a goalie, and Letty just said, a guy like Hyman, everybody knows where he's going to be. Goalies have to know that. How do you prepare, or is it in their heads, man, this guy's going to be all over me the whole game?
The thing about Hyman that makes him so effective, to me, is it's the willingness that Lud's talked about right there, but it's also the timing. He knows when to go in and when to leave and when to come back. That to me is a big thing. There's a lot of guys who, net front wise, especially in today's NHL, who either arrive too early where they get tied up, or they don't know when to circle back and go back. That to me is the most difficult thing about defending Hyman, is his timing is impeccable, and he plays with guys in Draisaitl and McDavid who, if that guy has good timing, they're going to find him when it goes right. And from a goalie perspective, and this is one of the things, like you mentioned, that chance is great because it was one of the ones I circled when we were watching this game about this is why you bank on Jake Oettinger as your long-term goalie. At the end of the day, there's only so much you can do about that guy, right? Like he is, if it's in the back of your mind and if the pass is made or everything like that, you're going to get everything and you're going to try to make the stretch across. But if you overly worry about him, all of a sudden McDavid's picking you over the corner. If you overly worry about it, so you have to trust your defense a bit. So this is a multifaceted thing. Your team is behind you as well. And then the other thing that Oettinger does really well, we talked on Friday's show about how I really like when goalies play a little bit deeper, right? How they go and they give themselves a little bit of extra time to read that shot, right? Instead of being all the way out and being in that spot where you feel like you're taking the most area, but you technically are taking away some of your reaction time. I really like the way Jake plays deeper, especially on the penalty kill. I like how you'll see he's big enough with his frame. He can use that post. And like on that Hyman, I don't know, John, did we screen grab that picture of that play of that Hyman Edmonton shot? Did we know if we have the screenshot of that one?
No, that was on the Stars goal. Did you send that
I know,
in,
but
Sean?
I thought I did, but either way, just so people can picture what Oettinger's doing on this. Like he's in a spot where he is square to McDavid, but he's deeper in his crease, and he has that extra millisecond even to be able to kind of to react, and also the push becomes shorter across too. When you're a little bit farther out, like this is one of the things that when Anton Khudobin was one of the Stars goalies, Khudobin was fun to watch, but because of his size, he had to play so aggressively. And you saw him get burned on those backdoor plays quite a bit because he was out so far much. And so if you were able to get the backdoor pass across, he had no chance. Oettinger is able to shorten the push, because of how deep he plays. And he does it really, really well. Like, I know there's sometimes the Stars broadcast goes a little bit too far on the behind the net stuff. But for me, as like a goalie nerd, watching it from that perspective and watching how Jake plays it, it's the one time they should do way more of it.
I want to follow up just on one of the first thing that you said, Sean. Oh, and by the way, if you're having trouble getting things here electronically, like sending them, I can probably help you out in that area. Computer things and tweeters and
He'll say
all that stuff. But one of the things you said, Sean, you had talked about getting lost. And I think what's important to bring up, like what you said, is for me, if it's the initial rush and Hyman goes to that back post, and then when the play may not develop like that and it goes into a corner somewhere, he doesn't stay there. He leaves. And he leaves because if I'm playing against him and all I have to keep on doing is just checking my shoulder and I know he's there. But when he's not there, then you kind of just go on with the play. And then all of a sudden he appears again. That's a good point by Sean.
Up next in the DLS Dallas Stars post-game show, let's talk about the second period for what Mason Marchment did. And then we're really going to get into the power play. That's next.
You want to talk about the marquee moment?
No, not yet.
You just want me to tell you about the booze?
I just want you to tell us about
the booze.
Please.
Well, that's Herman Marshall. It was founded in 2010. Herman Marshall, Dallas County's first legal distillery since the repeal of Prohibition. Herman Marshall Whiskey aims to preserve the legacy of Herman Beckley and Marshall Lewis with its commitment to community, quality, and innovation. Located in the beautiful town of downtown Wiley, Texas is proud to partner with the Guns N' Hoses Foundation of North Texas on a single-barrel expression of its signature straight bourbon whiskey. The Guns N' Hoses Foundation is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing immediate financial assistance to the families of fallen police officers and firefighters lost in the line of duty. They're built from the grain up through family, fellowship, and friends. So every bottle of single-barrel straight bourbon whiskey, Herman Marshall donates 15% of its revenue to the Guns N' Hoses Foundation of North Texas for those who went before. Stop into your closest goody-goody liquor store to find your favorite bottle of Herman Marshall.
On the button. Well done, buddy.
1 minute.
That was beautiful. Let's talk about HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh delivers all the pre-portioned ingredients you'll need to make easy homemade meals. All the proteins, veggies, sauces, spices, and more arrive in your box along with simple instructions that walk you through each step in the cooking process. You can choose meals that match you and your family's lifestyle with preferences like fit and wholesome, quick and easy, or vegetarian. You'll always find something to love with HelloFresh. Get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/free stars. Applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/free stars.
10 free meals. That sounds pretty good.
Use the promo code. Oh,
Yeah,
we got a super chat. Ardell, 529. You know what that is? That's Lundqvist and Oettinger. Notice he didn't go to the Oettinger to give us 29.29, but he said Jake's size and strength evident with traffic. Otter doesn't get pushed around much. Jake, more often than not, does the pushing guys out. Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, Jake doesn't engage in contact, actually. That's one of the things that I think is great about him. I don't think he actually pushes guys out. I think one of the things with his size, he realized and how the position is played, a goalie doesn't have to, like, in Lud's day, right? Like, Eddie kind of had to protect himself sometimes, right, Luds? Like, that was kind of the reality. Even though technically people weren't supposed to be crashing the crease and everything like that, they were. The way goalie interference is called now, Oettinger doesn't really have to push guys out. I think he does a really good job of maintaining and understanding the space in the crease. And he also is an imposing force. If you're a forward and you're trying to set up shop there, most guys in the league are looking up to him. That's the reality, right? Like, I think the size, and I think you talked about the kind of the spacing and everything like that. That fits to me. Just the pushing guys out. I actually would just kind of push back against the pushing out question of, it's that Jake knows that he doesn't have to worry about them as much. If he was worrying about pushing guys out, goalies that get too worried about the traffic and let that impact their save selection and let impact their rhythm, those are the ones that get happy feet. Like, how many goalies, let's use that play we were talking about earlier, where Hyman's setting up on the back post and effectively building a third post in a bunker to try to bank it in on. There's a lot of goalies where they're getting the happy feet in the crease there, and they start to get and they start to look in both ways, and they start moving. Their feet start moving a bit more. Jake never wavered at all, and to me, that is why, like, that's what puts you in the conversation for one of the best goalies in the world, when you do that consistently.
We have another super chat, and John, I finally remembered what I was going to tell you earlier about a new sounder, a little drop. It is, we need a super chat sounder. Now, I think we could argue over, should it be like a little Superman theme thing, or we can talk about it, but we should have something that when the super chat comes up, there's a little fanfare, right, Luds?
Whatever you think.
Well, don't you want to have a little? Don't you want to add a little bit of fun to the broadcast?
I'm just worried about. I'm not sure about I Love Lucy here or I Love Misty.
I Love Misty.
Yeah, this isn't that romance novel thing from the other day, is it? Book, cartoon, or whatever we were talking about?
No, this is different. You ready to hear it? There's some math in this one.
Just didn't. I'm a little
I think Lud's is on the sound thing right now. It's the Jurassic Park quote when it comes to producer John. We don't want to spend so much time worrying about whether we should, and we never stop to ask you spent so much time to seeing whether you could and never asked to see if you should. So I think that's
just threw a Jeff Goldblum line out for us.
Yes, there we go.
I Love Misty does a 2303, which is a Lindell Dumba. You could say Lindell Klingberg, but I think we'll go current. And the super chat says, with today's win, the Stars are now 37-0 since the beginning of the 21-22 season, when they take a 3-0 lead and get a fourth goal. In that same span, they are 4-4-2 when they take a 3-0 lead and fail to get the fourth goal. Well, if you're up by three goals and you score a fourth,
great stat.
They win.
That's a great stat. Like, this is why you should be a DLS diehard, because you know what? you get to interact with incredibly smart Stars fans like this who bring stats like this all the time. So go sign up to be a diehard so you can be part of this great community.
I know I can feel you looking and pointing at me, and you're going to ask me something that I don't have the answer to.
No,
so go for it.
I was just going to say, Pete DeBoer's whole style is you get the lead, you put your foot on their throat, and you score again. It's not sit back and we saw it under Hitch, we saw it under Monty, we saw it under Bones for a lot of points. They kept saying, no, we want them to score more, but there were so many times that they would tighten down the hatches and just try to protect that 1-goal lead.
Yeah, and that really is old school. That's the way it was in, late 80s, not 80s, but the 90s so much. They talk about going into the shell. But, you have to know your team. You have to trust your team. And the one thing you have to have a goalie. I mean, you need a good goalie. If you want to go get that third one and you're going to say, okay, well, let's go get the third one, then the fourth one, you're probably going to give up some chances. Our whole thing is we're going to have guys back, and if they're going to get any kind of an opportunity, they're going through all 5 guys. Again, different times.
All right, we were talking about maybe condensing our game recap. We haven't even gotten into the second period yet. So a couple of big chances. Podkolzin, who I thought was a nice little addition today for Vancouver, from Vancouver for Edmonton. He drove the net, actually lost the puck, it deflect off the stick of Lyubushkin, arcs up over Jake Oettinger, and it looks like it's going in, and Mason Marchment gets back there by the goal and just swats it out of the air. He actually hits it over the crossbar, so he gets called for high sticking. But, guys, I think he saved the goal.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's part of the reason you want to bring everybody back to the front of your net, not only to take away some scoring chances and cut down on quality scoring chances there. You have those little kind of things to happen. In the old system, he'd have been probably out by the top of the circle, and he wouldn't have been around there.
There's Slutty saying, I still don't like man-on-man.
Yeah.
So then things started to change because at the halfway point of the second period, it was, 30 minutes in, it was all Edmonton, right? There was the odd chance for the Stars here or there, but it was basically Oilers dominating except for Jake Oettinger and the penalty kill. Then Wyatt Johnston had 2 good chances on a shift. Jason Robertson had a great backdoor pass from Rope Hintz. He just missed. That was the one where if he gets it on net, it's probably a goal. And then it kept coming. Marchment, Stankoven, a couple from Robertson on a wraparound and his own rebound. Wyatt gets a chance on a pass from Donoff that Skinner comes up with a save. And then the Stars have another penalty. They have to kill off the second Oilers power play. This one Hintz was called for tripping when he stripped the puck and almost had an empty net, but he did trip the guy.
He did.
And so it was the right call. I had only one quality chance for the Oilers on their second power play, and it was right off the opening faceoff of that man advantage. They got it to Bouchard. He steps in the high slot, takes a shot. Ottinger saw it. Good save.
Is that a quality chance if it's not Bouchard's shot?
If it's not Bouchard again, I give it from the high slot in. So I think
was it a wrist shot?
It was a wrist. Not a high danger.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Because to me, that was not a quality chance.
Thank you.
So to me, because it's Bouchard and he had a clean lane to the net, again, it's probably your goalie expects to make that save.
If he's winding up here, then yes, but he's taking a wrist shot.
Wait, he's steadfast on this quality shot stuff.
I'm not calling it a high danger, so don't get the definitions wrong.
Okay.
After that, the penalty kill suffocated the Oilers' second power play. I had a good look because where I am in the press box is a little bit closer to that end of the ice. So the Stars were defending the second period. And I told Luddy this off air. Sean, I really thought that Lyubushkin and Lindell they made a positive impression. They looked really good. They made some good plays. And Matt Duchene on the penalty kill did some nice stuff. And I know a lot of people would go, really? Matt Duchene killing penalties? But I like that they got him involved.
Yeah, we've talked about that. When you have offensive guys that are willing to go out there, get in shot lanes, block a shot, but how they anticipate plays. They're Matt Duchene and Robo and Hintz and Wyatt, they make these great offensive plays all the time, and they anticipate where it needs to go. And I think you just reverse that, and they look at the players that they're playing against when they're on penalty kill. They can spot and they can see little things that trigger them. They can pick off passes where they think they can go. And so that's the bonus. Obviously, the downside is at times you're gonna take one off the foot or the ankle or the wrist or something like that.
Sean, there was Yanni Hakanpää's injury and then departure. There was Chris Tanev leaving, Ty Dellandrea going, although he wasn't always in the lineup. There was some conversation of will the Stars be the same as they were last year on the penalty kill? And honestly, it's been fantastic so far this year.
Yeah, it's been a strength of this team. That's like we've talked about it on multiple shows now. This is a team that I think it's also like it's part of the identity they've installed earlier. And I know we love talking about that word, but it's true. If you are going to like one of the things I like the way Pete DeBoer runs his teams is especially with the forwards, and I like how he tries to make sure everyone has a role in some way. And so yes, Duchene had to step in because like the Sagan injury that opens up a guy who would normally be on the penalties and everything like that. But I like the way that Pete DeBoer essentially says, if you're going to be on this roster, you're going to have something to take ownership of. And I like the way that everyone who steps into the Stars penalty kill realizes how important it is to the identity of this team. We are going to build energy off this. We might build Blackwell's goal the other night. We might turn it into offense goals completely. The Stars, like I've covered a lot of, and I've covered obviously primarily the All-Stars, but I've been in a lot of NHL locker rooms, talked to a lot of things. There's teams where penalty killing is there's teams where penalty killing is a sign, and there's teams where you have guys raising their hand to do it. And I think the Stars are the example of you got guys who are raising their hands to do it, want to do it because it is something that is highly valued from the top. And as silly as it sounds, that's not the case for every NHL team. I can tell you for a matter of fact, I have been in NHL locker rooms where that is not the case.
I think it's twofold. I mean, you put an offensive-minded guy out there, that's good, but you can put an offensive guy out there because you have the goaltender back there that can make saves if that offensive guy takes a little bit more of a risky play chance, because you kind of know what's happening. You know their instincts are to look for a little open space and jump at times when you probably wouldn't jump, killing a penalty. So, but you always have that guy in the back.
Let's talk about the goal now. Late in the period, Stars draw a penalty.
Let's talk about the goal.
Troy Stecher gets called for tripping. It was 1931 into the second frame, and we have some photos for you. So let's start with this. Everybody knows Matt Duchene scored his second of the year off of a clean Rope Hintz faceoff win, 1934 time of the goal. But let's start with this, Luddy. This is shortly after the faceoff win by Rope Hintz. Tell everybody what you're seeing and why you wanted to show this.
When you say clean, I don't know how you can get it much cleaner. RNH, Nugent Hopkins, like he literally pulls it. He's on his backhand, and his backhand is dropped back to the left point, which he's not trying to. I actually think he's trying to do this.
I do too.
But the angle that it goes straight back to the right point, I don't know if you can get it any cleaner than that. That's just the start with the faceoff.
Right, but I want to point something out real quick here. Look where number 25, Darnell Nurse is. If you're listening to the audio version, obviously you can't see it, but Nurse starts, at the drop of the puck, he jumps into the circle, almost anticipating he's going to go in and help Nugent Hopkins win a tie-up draw.
That's exactly. That's what I think. I'm just going to tie his stick up. You come in, grab the puck.
Help me. And so Nurse goes in, but it's won so cleanly that now he's 1.5 strides into the circle. And so let's go to the next photo.
And then wait, real quick.
Go back. Go ahead, Sean.
If you're watching, I want you to look at Nurse's ankles right here too, because like that's it's funny because like I actually, ironically enough, I covered in college basketball. Like when I was in college, I covered Darnell Nurse's sister played college basketball at Bowling Green, Tamika Nurse, and so I can't ever watch Darnell Nurse and not think about things from a basketball perspective. Think about in basketball how once you get your ankles going the wrong way, you're cooked. So look at Darnell Nurse right here, and I know people in the audio version can't see, but basically his ankles, both toes are basically pointing inward, and he's basically in a spot where to get out of this spot at all, it's about to be very uncomfortable to recover, and he's not going to do well with it.
Okay, now go to the next photo. And this is right after the release by Duchene. And you can see he's above the circles. So that's the highest of the high slot. It's a clean look for Stuart Skinner. And Luddy,
play the drop. John, play the drop.
Skinner? I got it first.
Yeah, you did.
Skinner!
There it is. Much better. Okay, we're going to ask Luds about Nurse, and then we're going to ask Sean about Skinner.
Well, when you look at Darnell Nurse in this clip, he's already turned sideways. But if you would have looked a second or two earlier, he was actually facing the shooter. And then
But
as
he didn't
Duchene
actually get to the lane.
No, but what he's doing but I don't even care about the lane. It's that he got out and he sees the guy's taking a shot and you start to front him. So you're facing him. But as Duchene's getting ready to release it, which it is released right now, he turns sideways, which to me, for a guy that's making $8 million a year, your job is to try to get into a shooting lane first off. But he gets out of the way, and it's almost like there's no way I want to get hit with that puck. Now, somebody could say, well, and I'm looking from where the shooter is. Luds, what would you have done? There would have been a time where I can go down. If I go down and I take the ice away, then the goaltender, Eddie, would tell me,
Would
Luds.
you have kicked your feet out then?
Well, yeah,
to
your
try to
feet.
block?
Your feet leads first.
Yeah.
I mean, you
don't
might
go
want to
face
go head
first.
first. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have. That's not good. But but no, your feet would, once you throw your feet out, it kind of brings the rest of the body with you, and you kind of slide. But so you can take the ice away there. That is if, and a lot of times Belfour would come to me on faceoffs that were lost. Unfortunately, it was guys like Bork and these guys that have bombs. And Eddie would just kind of skate out to me, goes, Luds, you go ahead, take the bottom. I'm like, oh, thanks, Ed. But the point is, where Duchene is now, I used to do this, but then I had goalies come to me and say, Luds, you don't have to go on
That
down
would
on
be
that
my
one.
only question. Is there any chance? I'm not trying to defend Darnell
No.
Nurse here. Is there any chance Stuart Skinner had said, "Leave him, I got it"?
No.
And then he
Not
gets
a chance.
out of the way.
No, you can tell. If you could see this live, he pulls his hand back, and you don't hear that in your head.
Yeah.
That you don't hear a goalie as you're going there and you're fronting it. You don't hear a goalie, oh no, leave him go. No, he just turned to get out of the way of this shot. But the reason I wouldn't now, years later, not go down on this play, because it's not, for me, it's not dangerous. If I'm a goaltender, I'm thinking this is not, if Steve, I said that earlier, Steve Duchene, it's Matt Duchene. I played, my buddy. So, but Matt, if you gave Matt 10 pucks from there, give him 20 pucks from there and take shots from right there, wrist shots, what goalie's going to let in any of those?
Sean, is that a bad goal for Stuart Skinner to give up from that position and a clean lane?
I guess John didn't get my message. I messaged
Skinner.
John. There we go.
He was waiting for it.
I was waiting because I said before we went on the air, if you're a pro goalie and I showed you that shot, that's a shot that cannot beat. That's a bad goal. And and earlier in this show, Luds and I were giving you crap for talking about a quality chance on a shot that was pretty similar for Bouchard. And I was like,
Yes.
there's no way that's a quality chance. There's no, if this goal beats Jake Oettinger, all of a sudden we're having a whole show of, is the contract even worth it? Right? That is a goal. And this is a goal that an NHL goalie cannot and should not allow. And in a game where I know people say as a goal in a game where the other guy's playing well at the other end, I can only imagine how deflating this was going into the room for Edmonton. If you're the Oilers, you've been outplaying the team the entire game, the other team the entire game, you haven't been able to buy one, you just took your first penalty, you feel like, hey, we're the better team, we're still going to win this game in the third period. And then your goalie does that. Just the timing of this. To me, the timing of this going into the intermission, it's a killer for a team. And I put so much, this to me, entire game changed because a goalie couldn't make a save that is effectively a warm-up shot.
And I think that, and you mentioned Jason Robertson a little earlier, Robo to me had some good chances around the front of the net today, or during the game, and there were wraparounds. There was a couple opportunities that I saw him in tight. I'm glad he got rewarded, even though it was an empty netter at the end of the game. But he's the one that went and fought down below the goal line on this play to draw that penalty. That's ultimately how it ended up being, that power play. Not that he gets any credit or assist or a point or anything like that, but it was about him being down around the net today.
We will get to the third period and then to your chats afterwards. But right now, we have to pause for our, of course, doing our business here on the DLS Dallas Stars postgame show.
All right, I'm ready for this one today, actually. We're talking about Roback today, who I believe I completely butchered their ad before, so I owe them a bit of an apology. You know what? It's fall. It's a good time to get out there and go golfing. And if you're going to go golfing, you need some of the best polos around, and that's why I suggest Roback. Roback. Their performance polos are better in the heat than any other polos, which you definitely need in Texas. They're moisture wicking, so the polo won't stick to you, and they have such a nice stretch and feel. And you know what? They all look great. They are designed, and then on top, and they're designed for comfort and all of that. So if you are going to outfit yourself this fall season and you're going to go on the golf course, or you need a hoodie, or you need to pick anything else up apparel wise, go to Roback. If you want the perfect blend of comfort, style, and versatility, and why wouldn't you, use the code DLLS20 on roback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all polos, hoodies, and shorts with the code DLLS20. And make sure to check them out, and they will have you ready for whatever your travels or activities are coming up. And again, they deserved a much better read from me from last time. So go buy something from them and make sure that they feel better about it.
Now let's talk about Shady Rays. Whether you're on the golf course, you're headed to a Stars game on an afternoon with a lot of sunshine, maybe you're with Luddy out on a big motorcycle ride. You still do that, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, unfortunately. You need quality sunglasses built to last. Shady Rays has that for you. Premium polarized shades that will not break the bank. They have hundreds of styles to choose from. They probably have the right style and colors of your favorite team, maybe even the Dallas Stars colors. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, let's get back to the third period here, and we have to get in a little bit into fast-forward mode because, amazingly, we are already halfway through our post-game show, and we have a lot more to get to. So let's start with, I thought, 2 really good high-danger saves from Jake Oettinger when it was a 1-0 game. First, Zach Hyman had a stuff shot alone at the crease. Again, you like your goalie in that mode, but Luddy, you said this to me on that play. Jake didn't even look remotely bothered by that chance, and that's a 50-goal scorer one-on-one at the crease.
It reminded me of a dad or somebody like that with their 4-year-old son trying to, walk across the crease and tuck one in, and you really don't want to stop it. You want your kid to kind of feel like there was nothing to it. Like, he just is so calm and trusts his size and his, the way he's set up, and he knows he's not getting anything down low. His pads are perfect on it. It's just so nonchalant. It just shows you how calm he plays.
And then he made a save on Podkolzin, who was open in the right circle. Again, this is a few minutes later. It was one that we didn't like that the Stars gave up because they had a chance to clear it, didn't, and then got caught kind of puck watching a little bit. But there it is, Sean. Jake is completely composed. And honestly, when that happened, Lud looked at me and goes, he's not letting in a goal today. He just has that vibe.
Yeah, I mean, that was those 2 chances against are kind of an embodiment of his game. And we talked about the calm composure on the power play chances in the first period earlier. Like, this to me it's just more proof to, these are the things when you're looking at a goalie and why the game is played up here. And I'm pointing at my head for people on the audio version. Like, the game, so much of goaltending is when chaos and everything starts to build up around you, can you just not worry about it? And that's what Oettinger does. And it was really impressive to watch tonight. Like, it's not just based on, it's like, obviously coming off the contract, it's a big storyline, but it's like, this was one of those games where you're like, this is one where you're like, okay, save the tape on this, because this is the type of game where you get people are like, okay, I don't watch Dallas enough. What do I need to know about Jake Oettinger? This is one of those games you would kind of like pin and send to them.
More goals as we go to the Matt Duchene third goal of the season, second of the game at 12:06 from Marchment and Blackwell. Marchment had 2 chances, a one-timer from Morrow, it was a nice setup, a good save by Skinner. Then he had a soft backhand, good position, didn't have a lot on it. But then he makes a great play to set up this goal. by holding off Bouchard and making the pass, and Duchene had an open net to finish.
Yeah, I mean, but that one there for me, Ekholm got a little attracted to the play as it was going down. Ekholm doesn't see him
So
coming
it's
in
not
behind
just
him.
the Stars defenders that get caught watching the play.
Yeah, I think he was a little panic mode. I wasn't sure if his partner was going to, be able to catch him, and he just never turned around. And there's Duchene, easy little tap in for him.
Sean, we had a partial breakaway for Stankov, and he missed the net, but continues to create a lot of buzz. I thought he was, again, dynamic, especially as the Stars got going in the game. And then Rope Hintz scores, and the Stars get 2 goals in 70 seconds. This one was Hintz, quick shot, low right slot, beat Skinner upstairs. You can't leave a guy like that open with a chance to elevate quickly.
Yeah, and it was I love the way they kept piling on too, right? Like I think the Stars have done a good job as a team of using the Jaws line of smelling blood in the water. Like I think they did a really good job of continuing to like build on it. And to me this was Hintz and Robertson's best game so far, and this year I don't know if I would think everyone else would agree with me. I'm not sure, but I would think Hintz and Robertson's best game, and to me that's one of the really encouraging things too about this game. Where yes, like the rest of the team, those two started slow in the first period a bit, but when you get them going and now they're able to add kind of the tip of the spear to that offense you've been talking about, like this team starts becoming more and more dangerous. And I think it's why the other day we talked about, hey, it's 5 games, let's see what happens. And now is this the launching point for everything else? Because that goal is a good encapsulation of that for me.
And I think the opponent today is going to add to all this too. All the build up and all that stuff that we talked about. And team didn't start great game, but you find ways, and I just think it's an important win. It's a confident thing. The schedule, the amount of games, all these things that's been going on, and also a little love for Logan Stankoven on that pass.
Honestly, I was going to ask you, that's his 6th assist in 6 games.
Yeah.
He has points, I believe, in 4 of the 6 games.
Yeah, and he made a nice little pass on that. He spots him right away, puts it right on the tape. And then again, you're going to talk about the empty netter. Logan makes a nice little play in the middle of the ice. Get that over.
Yeah, I said 6 assists. He actually got a second one. He
Yeah.
has 7 assists in 6 games. How about that for
It's a good
your
thing I brought
Calder
that
Trophy,
up. You might
right?
have forgot it, huh?
I might have.
Okay.
But how about that? Calder Trophy race early on. He's getting buzz, not just because we're saying it, but because people around the NHL are noticing that he's off to a blistering start.
He is, and he just over and over again. You're repetitive because he doesn't take a shift off. He doesn't know how to. It's not like he tries to save anything in the stank tank there. I mean, for the end of the game, there's a good one like that. The stank tank.
Make that into a t-shirt,
that's a good one.
Stank tank.
Stank tank.
So here's the wild thing about Stankoven start to a season. I just had to get a calculator and do math, which hurt my head. He's on pace right now. He has yet to score a goal. So think about it this way: he's a guy who has yet to score a goal. He is on pace right now for a 96-point season.
Jeez.
And he has zero
goals.
He has 0 goals. He is on pace right now for a 96-point season. Now, is that sustainable? Honestly, maybe. Like that's. I don't think
betting at, because I'm going to bet against that one.
You want to go against that?
I'm going to go against that. I don't think he's going to get. I don't think he's going to get 96 assists.
You're going to say less than 96 points.
I'm going to say less than 96.
I think less than 96 assists is a good bet.
That's kind of like wasn't it that GM that we had after game 1? We were going to have 164 points or something like that.
Yeah, we
and then
had
after
some
game
producer
2
and a GM that was pretty excited about 164.
Yeah.
Still on pace. So Draisaitl snaps the shutout bit. I honestly thought Luddy was
right.
right.
They're not on pace. They're not on pace for 164. They lost the other night.
No. 162 now. We were talking before they lost their first game.
Oh.
Yeah.
Stay with us, Sean. I know it's trust me, I know it's hard hanging in there.
There's a lot.
It's hard hanging in on this show.
Yeah.
So Draisaitl scores at 17:38 to spoil the shutout. I thought that Jake was going to get his second shutout of the season. It looked like he was going that way. He was playing that well.
Mm-hmm.
But this was not on Jake. This is for a 6-on-5 play. It felt like the Stars gave up middle ice and then got caught chasing and left arguably one of the dangerous shooters in the entire NHL open on the low left side.
All I could say is they're spread out. It was too spread out for that. I mean, whether it's a PK, even the 5-on-5 play, they're a lot tighter than that, with the exception of that goal.
Yeah, it's a broken play on 6-on-5 too.
Yeah.
Like I think it's one where it's there's sometimes like, okay, one of the best players in the world is going to score a goal in that situation.
Jason Robertson gets the empty netter. Nice little weaving play and nice pass by Stankoven. Hintz got an assist there, so he had 2 points as well. That line, I really like Stankoven on that line. I think that might be a good thing, moving Wyatt back to play with Jamie and put Bork on the wing or Dodonov. They tried Bork with Duchene and Marchment a little bit. Look, they missed Tyler Seguin. But the fact that Matt Duchene scored twice, Marchment was good, especially as the team went in the second half of this game, is encouraging, because the first 30 minutes I went, man, they really missed Seguin out there, because he and Duchene and Marchment together are better than they are when they aren't all together. And yet that's the second time Duchene has gotten on the board without Tyler Seguin in the lineup.
Yeah, I think you've got a lot of pieces on this team when they're up and running, and where they are at their peak. You're going to be able to move parts around all over. I also think that Beck and Blumel played well today. For coming in and having to fill and not, play a lot of games. I thought both of them, Beck going in the middle of the ice, seemed not bad.
Do you look more comfortable today at center than he did in the first game in Nashville, which was his debut?
Yeah, I think he's more noticeable anytime you play in the middle anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I didn't see any hiccups, as far playing center and wing are totally different. There's more responsibilities. Wingers, you're kind of up and down, you stay in your areas. There's a lot more responsibility in the center, so I thought he was fine.
And Sean, you were right completely about the style of Mate Blumel. It's more instantaneously positive, just the way he plays, than a guy like Maverick Bork. And Blumel showed out at times, especially once the team got going. He had a couple scoring chances. I thought he played well within his game.
As we talked about in the pregame show, I watched his shifts in his game from Texas last weekend, and you basically could have just transposed them into the NHL game, and that's what he did. And it's impressive, and but that's good on the Stars for knowing their players too. When you're looking, okay, who are we going to bring up and have the best instant impact? You have to give credit to Jim Nill and Scott White of being able to know, okay, who is going to be able to, when you have an injury call up, and it may only be one game, it may only who is going to, when we don't have the time for them to go figure it out over a couple games, who's going to provide that instant impact? So credit to the Stars on knowing themselves then.
I'm laughing because we've got to get to our chat, because somebody called Luds, and I have to say it with the accents because of how they spelled it.
What do you mean somebody called me?
They referred to you as Luds is a patty poopa. There it is. There's the chat, Ardell. And that's a very New England expression. We'll get to your chat up next on the DLS Dallas Stars postgame show. But first, Sean has to tell you about the Die Hard program.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned, I kind of teased it earlier when I talked about our really smart listener who sent in that stat about them. What happens when the Stars take a 3-0 lead, then score to go 4-up. But and I'll use the line in honor of Sam right now, since I know he loves this. What if I told you there was a place where you could connect and interact and just talk sports, but you can also talk movies. You could talk barbecue. I think I saw a conversation. Someone was planning their barbecue and went to the DLS Die Hard Discord the other day. Or better yet, it's the damn Discord. Bloods will never go. We go there for him. But you can go there all the time simply by becoming a member of becoming a Die Hard and joining the Die Hard level. It's one of the best things going right now in all of Dallas sports. You get a free shirt every single year. And on top of that, you don't just have to lock in your shirt right away. If you want to wait for another shirt to come out, you can do that. So it is for the diehards. It is for the fans. It's in the name right there. You're a diehard Stars fan. You're a diehard Dallas sports fan. It really is a match made in heaven. So go check it out. And yeah.
All-City National NHL show What Chaos has a new line of merch with Buffalo-based hockey fashion label Dishon. Go to justdishon.com and check out the What Chaos line of shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. All right, we have to get into our diehard, or not our diehard, our chat. You don't have to be a diehard to be a part of this. You just have to be on the YouTube link, which is the only way you'd be listening to us now, because we post on the audio podcast streaming platforms after we finish our show. But before we do, speaking of the diehards, I believe that Luddy, we have a picture to show. Look at this. We have Jimmy T,
Jimmy T,
T
and
Farmer
and his boy.
today.
Yeah.
You guys got a chance to meet before the show, and two of our first diehards and two of our biggest DLS Dallas Stars podcast fans got a chance to hang out with you and our producer John before I could even get downtown. It was great, right?
Oh, it was awesome. We were downstairs at Dick's and had a couple bites to eat, and T Farmer's son, chatty one. But the chattiest of all was our producer, John.
Was he now?
Man, he goes and goes. He's like a little kid over there. They were talking the little Wii games, and I don't know what's the SpongeBob and all the. Oh yeah, they were going at it. So no, we had a good time. They came up. John showed them around the studio here. Went upstairs in the lounge and got to jump on the set. So we had a good time today.
Thank you to both of you guys for your support.
Can we keep a running counter of the number of diehards who get to see the studio before I ever do?
Yeah.
If I'm not, by the way, let's see. We've had three live guests because we had Brad Alberts.
Oh, you almost forgot about Josh.
And Josh.
Yeah.
Well, Josh was the one I forgot about for sure.
John Radigan.
Rad's
came
popped
in.
Ben
popped in.
Has popped in several times.
Ben always unwanted guest.
Our CEO and founder Brennan was in that one.
Yeah.
With was he with the one with Josh? I think he came in when Josh was here. That was the one where Ben spilled the beer all over the carpet.
Yep.
Because he dropped the can.
Had a couple of beers.
Yeah, that was fun. So Sean, the list gets taller and longer by the day.
Yeah.
Hey, John, do we have a super chat that I'm looking at from T Farmer here? 1129. That's Stankoven and Oettinger. Goalie play is just the creme de la creme. Contract well deserved. Boy,
can't
you put it
argue
on
with
display
that
today, huh?
Yeah, you can't argue with that. Credit to Jim Nill and his staff. Getting it done, kind of just sneaks it in there.
So, I think Ardell was calling you a party pooper or a patty pooper.
Potty. Yeah, why?
He wants you to call him Tankoven. As in Stankoven.
Well, I just made that up on the fly.
And you said Stank Tank. I think that's what it is. Ardell, you can always jump in the chat and let us know on that. How about this? Burned Oils goes, I hope Owen has his diehard fan subscription already. Yes, we're already in. I can get into the Discord once in a while.
I can't.
Well, you shouldn't. Right? It's better
shouldn't?
that you don't, because
Good.
then when
I'm
we
not.
do the Luddy Damn Discord channel,
Oh, yeah.
you're not.
I might get tipped
you're
off
not
to a couple of
cheating.
these
Right, I don't want
romance
you-
novel questions. Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you had time to do that. I Love Misty said, I'm glad I got to meet Luds before the alumni game in 2020, before everything went to heck. So that was pre-lockdown. Did you guys have an alumni game in like January or February of that year?
Yeah, usually we it's always when the Stars have an afternoon game. And whenever that afternoon game is, we jump on the ice. But back to 2020, I don't remember what happened this morning. So
Ardell said no. You're the patty pooper.
Potty pooper?
Because you said Stank Tank wouldn't hit 90 points.
No, 96.
You said less than 96.
Okay, let's find out who's right on this one then.
I think you guys have to have a gentleman's wager here.
Yeah. It was 96, right, Sean? You said 96.
Yeah, the pace is 96.
So
right
the
now.
potty pooper there isn't paying attention.
By the way, our GM Ben joined the chat, of course, because he loves to troll us, and he goes, "How's the beer smell behind you, Owen?" He did go clean it up afterwards.
Yeah,
right.
He did spill. I think he dumped it on purpose.
You think?
Yeah, he wasn't trying to. He couldn't hang even for one little segment.
Hang. That gauntlet has been dropped on our general manager. There's the sounder we need. Maybe that's our super chat sound, because it's ridiculous enough to be fun.
Can I tell a quick Luds beer story?
Sean, you see what you're all missing here?
I know, but I want to tell a quick Luds beer story real quick. So I don't know, Luds. I know you said you didn't remember this morning, so you probably don't remember this. When I wrote my my book about the Stars, 101 Things Stars Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. And yes, I'm just intentionally plugging my book, I know. But one of the first sit downs or just like talking about the history of the Stars things was I went and met Luds for a beer, and we just talked about some things from Stars history. We met at the bar, and we probably had like I think I had like 4 beers, and Luds is like, yeah, I'll easily pick that up. That's pocket change, and I had to call my wife to come get me because I was not able to drive home. I had to call my wife to come get me because I could not drive home after I drank what Luds considered pocket change. So.
By the way, do you have any idea how many Luds had? Because it was probably more than 4.
Listen, don't feel bad because there's a certain broadcaster for the Dallas Stars. We did the same thing, and I think he woke up in his car the next morning. At least he was smart enough not to drive. But yeah,
Yes.
so there's been a few casualties.
I believe it.
I'm rolling my sleeves up now because the show's almost over and it's Saturday night.
Jeff writes in, Super Chat sound should be quote unquote the Bing Bong. Is that from the Bing Bong?
I know what a bong is. Is that what we're talking about?
Up until this year, I don't know if they're doing it this year. You're talking about from Inside Out? Yes. Oh yes. Trust me, I have kids, and that's a great movie, by the way. It's
how about
Pixar.
Bada Bing?
But Bing Bong, the Stars used that after announcing the goal. You'd hear Bing Bong. I don't know if they're doing it this year or not. Maybe, but the crowd's been sort of echoing it. This is not something they did at Reunion Arena. It's only the last couple of years. It's Jeff K gets on the PA and announces Dallas Stars goal, scoring his 3rd of the year, Matt Duchene, time of the goal, da-da-da-da-da. And then they play this little sound effect where it's from the movie. You hear Bing Bong. And it seems ridiculous, but then the whole crowd goes, Bing Bong. And Letty's looking at me like, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
So, all right.
Can we try to make like a unique one? Like, I don't know. Maybe we could make it like a super cut of Sam singing the Empire Read or something like that. Like, could we make it something that's our own? Something like that. Remember, like Sam sung the Empire Read, right? Like,
by the way, Ardell also is not. He says John keep workshopping the drop
ignoring
for
me.
future.
Sean,
He
are
says,
you not answering Sean's question?
What's he want?
You're not listening.
No,
you're a bad host. You're supposed to listen. You're trying to get him to come here. Why should he come here? He never gets to get in.
No, because if he's here, we could see that he wants to talk. I'm actually trying to listen to our super chat over here.
Listen to it?
Okay.
Read it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Jason writes in, I think they switched from Bing Bong to Yeehaw. It's like this prospector Yeehaw. I think the Bing Bong's better.
I don't know.
All right.
No comment.
So as we're getting through this, I think, Luddy, it might
Sean,
be
maybe
time.
John could put us in our own two box over
there,
and you and I can just talk.
Just get it out of it.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
You probably could.
No, not you can keep going. We'll just talk.
You can keep going. Yeah, we'll just talk.
Well, I think it's time for us to do the Herman Marshall marquee moment of the game. Pick up your favorite bottle at your closest goody liquor store.
You know, I had actually a couple of them, and I was going to lead, with Jake. I think that would be deservable. And then I was going to go with Duchene, but I'm going with, depends on what nickname you want to go with, BMO, Mini-Mo. I'm going with Brendan Morrow, being inducted into the Dallas Stars Hall of Fame tomorrow afternoon over at, I believe it's at Gillies, which I will be there to congratulate him in person. I'll probably get there about 10 tomorrow morning just to make sure I get a good seat. So congrats to Brendan, Anne-Marie, and his family. So quite an honor. Him and Jim Lights are going in tomorrow. So I should add Jim to that too. Jim Lights and Brendan Morrow. And
I believe we have a clip to go along with today's Herman Marshall marquee moment of the game. For every bottle of single barrel straight bourbon whiskey, Herman Marshall donates 15% of its revenue to the Guns and Hoses Foundation of North Texas. For those who went before, stop in to your closest goody liquor store to find your favorite bottle.
Because I loved it here, my family was born here. Dallas is home, and like I said, there's a business side to it. I never wanted to leave. I always had a part of me that never left, even when I was in St. Louis and Tampa and Pittsburgh. I always, I mean, it's a cliche, bleed green, but I felt like I did. So to be able to come back and sign that one-day contract was really special.
I was here for that. Sean, I think you were here too. I feel like we sat together in the AAC concourse. It was after a Stars morning skate, and Morrow was up on they set up a little press conference, and he signed a one-day contract to return to the Dallas Stars before officially announcing his retirement. He had gone away searching for a Stanley Cup, which he missed by 1 year. He came into the Stars the year after they won the Cup. And I just always remember that as being a really cool moment at the end of his career. He got to, Guy Carbonneau was there. Obviously the great story with, Brendan and his wife, and that's Guy's daughter. And what an interesting setup that was for a young kid in the locker room dating a guy who's the daughter of a guy in his own team. But just, you could tell there was so much love for the Stars being in Dallas. And I always love it when a guy that spent a bulk of his career, he was, of course, a captain forever, comes back, even if he has to go searching for another team, to come back and sign it. Even, it's a perfunctory 1 day, but it means a lot that he was able to finish out his career that way.
What I think about it, and what I love about the organization is what they believe in a captain should be. And it started with Darian Hatcher, then it went to Brendan, and now with Jamie. And there's obviously common denominators with all three of them. And it's kind of guys that set the tone for the game. They don't have to be big rah-rah guys. Brendan would go through the wall for his teammates. He's not the biggest of guys, even though he's, that stature, low, strong, and he would fight for any guy on his team. And it's just kind of followed Hatch and Jamie. So, yeah, but congrats to him. There's, one of the guys for sure that deserves to be in that Hall of Fame.
And he handled, and like you mentioned, the lineage of the captain. How he got the captaincy was one of the most difficult situations anyone's ever gotten one. Like I think all the time we always hear the Mike Modano version of the story of like how for someone to lose the captaincy, to be the guy that gets it and to be in that spot where all of a sudden you're getting that spot. Like, I've talked to guys who played with him, and I've talked to Brendan about it before. Like, the way he handled that is like, we always hear about the woe is like, I think we had played the Doug Armstrong clip on a show last month about how he said he wouldn't have done the thing with taking the captaincy away from Mike and everything like that. But that could have gone so much worse if it wasn't Brendan who was there to handle that. So I think he deserves way more credit for that whole transition when it did happen. One thing I wanted to ask you, Luds, real quick on this, just because his career basically started right after yours ended. Did you get to know him at all as a player? Like, obviously you guys know each other now, but I was curious, like, when you were did you get to know him at all as when you were still playing? Was it in a training camp or anything like that? Did you get to know him at all as a young kid?
Yeah, what I remember, I knew Brendan better away from it, but just quiet. Jamie's quiet, Hatch was quiet, Brendan's quiet. I'm talking about in the locker room, outside the locker room, maybe a little more out there. But yeah, just you wouldn't. It's funny, like the way that they play on the ice doesn't really match the way they are sometimes just sitting in the locker room as teammates, because they're not, again, like I wasn't in the locker room with Brendan, but from everything that I hear, they just their actions speak louder than their words did at the time, and everybody has a different way that they lead when they wear that letter, and that just is a pattern here with the Dallas guys.
All right, we're going to have to wrap things up because it is getting late. It was a great show, but I want to give you guys a chance to name your man of the match. Best player tonight, whether it's Stars, Oilers, the guy that played the bing bong sound, you name it. So let's start with our frequent guest, Sean. He's part of the show. He's just not here every single broadcast. Who's your man of the match today, Sean?
Skinner!
Well, the entire game changed because one man couldn't catch a puck. I'm all serious. We'll go with the guy at the other end. I had a contrarian answer, because I know Owen likes to do that sometimes, where someone will have taken his answer and then he'll say like, "Oh, I'm gonna go be this one," even though I had a different one. So my
That's
true
the
one
wrong
is
word.
Jake
It's not contrarian. It's supplemental. I agree with you that this guy's number one, but hey, we'll give an honorable mention. It's not being a contrarian.
Okay.
Now I'm being a contrarian.
Okay. It's Jake Oettinger. I mean, it's Jake Oettinger. He helps them get to the spot through the first period, throughout that whole game. He stabilizes everything. I do have a quote-unquote supplemental answer that from Owens, and using Owens terms. And if you want that one after you both go, if no one else gives it, I will give it to you. So
Go ahead, Luds. Man of the match.
Yeah, I mean, I would lean that way also, but just for the sake of picking somebody else, I'm going to go with Matt Duchene. 2 goals.
I mean, he was great, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think Matt Duchene's been good since the day he put the jersey on.
I'm trying to find in the play-by-play here, and I can't find it. I think it was this one, but I'm not positive. So bear with me if this isn't right. There was a moment in the second period where Brendan Smith drilled an Oiler. I think it was this one that's logged against Derek Ryan, because I think right after he hit Ryan, Corey Perry squared up with him, and I started laughing because I was like, Corey Perry's fought before. I don't think he's fighting Brendan Smith there. And I really thought that woke the Stars bench up a bit. It was a really big physical hit. I went, wow, that's a veteran guy recognizing that something needed to happen. He got a hit in, and they got better, and then obviously they scored the power play goal at the end of the period. So, look, Jake Oettinger was the best guy tonight. Duchene scored twice. Marchment, I thought, was really good. I thought he tried to keep creating plays, even though the team wasn't really good early. But I thought that moment, that hit by Brendan Smith, was a noticeable, at least for me up in the press box, moment that got things turned, just changed the momentum of the game a little bit.
I agree with you, and I think all 3 of us are right.
Yep, there it is.
That's a good way to end the show.
Perfect.
Marchment was my supplemental one. That was mine. If I hadn't gone first and someone else picked Oettinger, I would have gone with Marchment, because I thought he was. I thought his impact on both ends. There's a lot of times we talk about Mason Marchment on shows because he can't control the chaos, and tonight he controlled the chaos and he brought it on both ends.
Like, he doesn't always do things by the most fundamental technical side of it, but he, especially tonight, he created a lot more good than bad in the game. I really liked his game tonight.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
We're off tomorrow because it's Sunday. Hope you have a great Sunday off. We're back on Monday for our normal show. Maybe Sean will be there. He hasn't decided when he's going to grace us with his presence next week, so we'll have to wait. But for Sean Shapiro, for Craig Ludwig, for our injured compatriot on IR, Sam Nestler. Sam, I hope you feel better soon. And for our producer, John Anderson, I'm Owen Newkirk. Final score, the Stars beat the Oilers 4-1, 5-1-0 to start the year. Have a great weekend. So long, everyone.
Skinner! We all silly like the mayor.